It's time for our featured match of the day here in the America's Grandmasters. We've got Rase up against Monsanto. Rase playing our spotlighted deck of the day as well, with the OTK Paladin up against Monsanto, who, of course, is playing Rogue. There has to be at least one Rogue.
Yeah.
Every single...
Well, yeah, it's going to be in every single match. At least it's a Pogo Rogue. Not to say that I don't enjoy watching Rogue games, but I do want... Yeah, it's a little bit different, and I'm excited to see it.
Well, before we go any further, let's take a look to see what Rase and Monsanto has to say about this series.
Hi, I'm Monsanto. I was very consistent last year, maybe one of the most consistent players on NA on ladder, but I really have yet to win any big tournament, and that's what I'm looking for. Qualifying to global finals is really important for me. I'm gonna do my best. That's my whole life is Hearthstone right now, so that's what I'm aiming for the most.
Lucas Guerra Romano, as known as Rase. Last year was pretty good for me. At the beginning, I won a major, I won the Copa America, and that was pretty nice because I could defend the Brazilian title. In Brazil, we have many great players too, but we don't have like that many support as other countries. It will be pretty nice to try to represent them because I know a lot of Brazilians will be cheering for me.
I'm very lazy, which means I like staying home a lot, and when I'm home I can play Hearthstone, so I do that like a lot, so I get a lot of practice.
Yeah, I met Monsanto in the HCT Buenos Aires, and I lost to him there at the top 8. He's pretty good too, and now he's my teammate. Sadly, we are going to face each other, but it's fine, okay.
Rase is my teammate with Team Genji. Him and Nagidan prep together a lot, I think, and they always bring good decks. They read the meta really well, and that can be pretty dangerous when you're facing them. Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, I dropped out of school to play Hearthstone, so it's so important for me to do well because that's pretty much everything for me. So I'll do everything I can just to improve in Hearthstone.
Being here together with the best players in the world, I will keep playing like better and better, and I'm here to win. I will try my best for it. I don't want to lose.
Rase up against his teammate Monsanto here, and Monsanto's saying, you know, Rase reads the meta pretty well. He can be pretty scary to play against. Monsanto sitting at 7-2 though. He's been doing pretty well so far. Should we take a look at how well Rase has read the meta with his deck list? It's going to be the OTK Paladin that we were talking about earlier. Tell me about this, Language Hacker.
Like we mentioned earlier, the way this deck wins most of the time is by cycling through the whole deck, shuffling a Cheval the Tiger back into your deck that's been discounted, and then Holy Wrathing your opponent's face for 25 damage, which can often result in a one-turn kill, or an OTK as we've been known to call it. There's a lot of cycle, there's a lot of removal, there's some immunity to prevent yourself from taking damage. It's a very, very interesting, like, very combo-y deck.
Well, the real question I have for you is how well is it going to do against Monsanto's deck, which is Pogo Hopper Rogue. I don't believe this is a matchup I've seen all that much before.
No, this isn't your run-of-the-mill, oh, this matchup happens all the time on ladder sort of thing. We don't see either of these that frequently. Monsanto's kind of game plan as Pogo Hopper can be to stretch the game out and make big Pogos against like slower decks. The problem is Rase doesn't care if the Pogos are 1-1s or 5-5s or 13-13s because board clears can still clear them with equality and shrink ray, and there's no way for Rase really to there's no way for Monsanto really to like disrupt what Rase has. He has to try to push very early for tempo and treat this as more of just a very aggressive rogue deck, which is difficult when it's not a super, you know, hyper aggressive rogue deck.
Right.
Alright, let's look at these mulligans here. Monsanto considering which of these he wants to hold on to. Witchwood Piper does guarantee that he draws a Pogo Hopper.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, early Pogo Hoppers, if they, if Monsanto has a draw where he can just play like Pogo Hopper, Lab Recruiter, and keep drawing, perhaps he can try to build a lot of early pressure with them.
It's fine as well, because it's not like he needs the Pogo Hopper down on turn, you know, early. Like waiting until he doesn't really need to do anything until turn 4. Then he play Witchwood Piper. and start curving out from there. He did actually draw a Pogo Hopper with Shadow Step. He may be tempted to just go ahead and play this now.
It's possible. The thing is, if he plays it on turn 1, there's nothing Rase can really do to clear that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Pogo Hopper, Shadow Step, Pogo Hopper, turn 2, he's got Blood Mage Thalnos. Turn 3, he can coin out the Witchwood Piper. Turn 4, well, he's not going to want to waste the second Pogo Hopper.
Well, depends what you mean by waste, right? Monsanto does have to be aggressive. This isn't...
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, I guess if it comes down turn 5, a quality Pyromancer isn't going to be able to clear it. It's a pretty tough one.
It is tough. I mean, Monsanto has to consider how much he wants to go in on the Pogos. I think this is a reasonable start. The 1/1 doesn't do that much, and making the Pogo Hopper 3/3 does present a threat for Rase. Rase will have trouble dealing with this other than exactly the Wild Pyromancer in his hand that we see. But it's not necessarily a card you might keep in your opening hand, so Monsanto deciding to bounce the Pogo Hopper now, get it out, and try to push some early damage. Rase deciding how he wants to deal with this, if he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, he can play the Pyromancer, but then he's not saving the Pyromancer for a combo, but at the same time, the Pyromancer is the only card that he can play that contests this.
He also knows that Monsanto is running backstabs. Wow, okay. It's some large Pogos.
Okay, so if he does Shadow Step it, then he's not dealing with the Wild Pyromancer, which does mean in a couple turns, Rase could play a quality and then clear the whole board. Obviously not just yet. I wonder if it's not just better to trade it, play the Thalnos, and then wait and save the Shadow Step for a later Pogo Hopper.
It is interesting. The thing is, if Monsanto does Shadow Step this Pogo Hopper now and make it a 5/5, there's not a whole lot Rase can actually do to kill it. Rase would need something like exactly Crystology, and Flash of Light is what it's called, I believe. Which means that it'll do 2 ticks of burn damage to the Pyromancer with the Flash of Light healing it so it doesn't die, which means that way the Pogo Hopper dies. But that's a very, very specific hand. And normally, when the Paladin has Crystology, they play it on turn 1.
True. Oh, so obviously hitting him with a dagger, which means if Rase does play a spell, the Pyromancer does. If it's not Flash of Light, like you were saying,
right.
Pyromancer does finish itself off.
Actually, this plays around that too. If Crystology were to be drawn, the Flashlight will let it deal 1 damage.
Oh yeah, of course it does.
I hope you like my invention.
Okay.
Shrink Ray. No good for a little while yet.
Yeah, not quite.
Wow, Ray's actually just going to trade the Pyromancer in, which means that Pogo Hopper can continue to damage the face this time.
Right. I mean, I don't think Monsanto was ever going to be trading at that point with the Pogo Hopper, but
no.
I mean, Rase knows that both Shadow Steps have been gone. There's not really any other bouncers, so this way the Pogo Hopper can't be healed, especially since Ziliax is the only way. Is there Snip Snap in the list too? I believe there is. So Snip Snap's the one way that Monsanto could get this out of range of something like a True Silver or Hammer of Wrath. But Ray's setting up to be able to deal with the Pogo Hopper next turn. Monsanto's at a point where he doesn't have too many options, but considering how he wants to kind of space out his mana right now, if he wants to save coin for a bigger turn later, if he wants to just develop the Witchwood Piper, could choose to just play out the Thalnos. I think that might be a little bit slow. It might still be fine though.
I've been just staring at that Witchwood Piper, like coining it out is the most aggressive play. I guess Monsanto decided it doesn't need that. This will bait out the Consecration from Rase, I should expect, and then Monsanto can just go Witchwood Piper, coin, Pogo Hopper next turn.
I think Monsanto keeping the coin here is considering whether Rase might have been trying to set up a True Silver Champion.
Okay, you think he's going to coin out the house?
Yeah, exactly. So if True Silver Champion were to come out this turn, instead of Consecration, Monsanto would be able to coin Harrison Jones.
Hammer of Wrath. But now I guess this way Monsanto can just go Witchwood Piper, as I said a second ago, Witchwood Piper, coin out the Pogo Hopper. And Pogo Hopper's way too big for any of Race's things to deal with it, apart from Shrink Ray, which is in the hand.
True.
It doesn't deal with it.
Right, it makes it a 1/1, but it's still on the board, and Monsanto could do something like Barista or
Lab Recruiter.
Lab Recruiter, that's what it's called.
It would have to be strictly one of those two things. Or Vanish. No, he'd only have 5 mana next turn, so it would have to be one of those 2 cards. Or Snip Snap to buff it up, I guess.
Yeah, you're right, Snip Snap would work too. Well, it wouldn't get more Pogo Hoppers, but it would mean that it at least continues to develop on the board and makes it more annoying for Rase to deal with.
Come dance to my
But yeah, it's decision time. If the Pogo Hopper does come down here, it does show that his strategy is to be as aggressive and as fast as possible this game.
It's a very big turning point. I think Monsanto realizes he does have to be a bit aggressive with the way he's playing, and hope that at some point Rase misses one of the check marks. And the earlier that Monsanto can kind of, you know, check for that check mark is the point at which he can push the most damage if it's not there.
Rope is burning out. He decides not to do it. So this is the less aggressive, but safer play.
Yep. That indeed.
Means that the Pogo Hopper is going to be able to do some stuff later and potentially have more copies shuffled into the deck.
Yep.
In the meantime, Monsanto does have Edwin. He's got a fan of knives. You know, he's got a little bit more resource generation. And if Rase does develop that Choose Silver Champion, which surely he must do at some point, then the Harrison Jones can come down and draw a card.
Yeah, that's true. This is what Monsanto's kind of waiting for, the Harrison. Going to be able to cycle and develop a minion, which is very useful for what he's trying to do.
And now with Evil Miscreant in the hand, Monsanto has a lot of value. 2 Evil Miscreants in the hand, that's even more value.
I'm thinking about a bit more. A couple of ways that Monsanto can win the game, not necessarily in this specific scenario, but in general, is a lot of Lackey generation, like doing rogue stuff, but also trying to find Myras, because if he can Myras and shuffle exactly a Pogo Hopper, all he needs to find is 1 Pogo Hopper and 1 bounce, and he can kind of develop threats over a few turns and keep developing into Rase's, well, not all of Rase's board clears, but enough that hopefully he'll eventually miss. So I wonder if Myras is one of the key cards that Monsanto might want to look for in this matchup.
I mean, it's something we talked about a little bit yesterday with the Pogo Hopper, Labrecruiter, Myra's combo. It does allow the Rogue to sort of turbo drive towards a win condition. As wow, that's 1 Prismatic Lens played, and there's the second one. It's a lot of card draw this turn. 4 mana Pyromancer is a little bit awkward. Now the Pyromancer Shrink Ray combo costs 9. With preparation, Monsanto. Oh, he has so many options this turn.
Yeah, I think one of the first options is going to Miscreant, see what's in the box. Chooses the fan first.
I mean, this could be an Edwin turn.
I mean, if it's an Edwin turn, you can also just Miscreant anyways.
Yeah, Miscreant.
I don't think he should have fanned there first. Perhaps he was looking at what the draw was going to be, but I'm not sure what card he would be looking for.
You mean like what's better than what he already has?
So if he finds Ethereal Lackey, for example, off the Miscreant, he could play that and find another spell that he wants to use. So by fanning first, it means that Monsanto was probably trying to find something else.
Lab Recruiter.
From his, perhaps.
If he
I don't know what he would be Lab Recruiting, though.
Well,
I guess the Pogo Hopper.
He could, instead of playing the Lackey, he could go Pogo Hopper and Lab Recruiter and then Edwin.
True.
It's actually 1 more proc on the Edwin, and it means a second huge threat on the board, and Rase would need to deal with it. But then again, Rase needs to deal with this anyway, right? Like, Rase is just dead to the board at the moment. He has to clear everything.
Yeah.
So the second big threat wouldn't have actually made that much of a difference.
True. I mean, yeah, this develops enough to where Rase has to have an answer, and if he doesn't, then it is just lethal. So Rase does not have timeout, but he does have Shrink Ray. Shrink Ray still reduces the board to 4 damage. Monsanto isn't really running Burst. There's no Eviscerates, there's no Leroy. Snip Snap and Ziliax can use this Burst, but not when there aren't next.
There is the Lab Recruiter as well.
Yeah.
So now Monsanto is safe to play Pogo Hopper. And he's going to want to as well. Again, the big threat that Monsanto just played was dealt with. Just play another big threat. Now Rase has to deal with that. Then the next turn, hopefully he can play another big threat. Go Pogo Hopper, Lab Recruiter, and Evil Miscreant.
Right.
It's a 2-pronged attack.
Considering what he wants to do, he could develop Miscreant instead, try to find something else. But I think the Pogo Hopper is just the kind of a way to go. Monsanto's just kind of going through motions, thinking, all right, if I spend 3 mana on this, what else can I do? I can still develop the Miscreant and stuff like that.
I want you, and you.
instead of going with the Evil Miscreant, Monsanto's actually going to take Dagger and just continue beating Rase down. Obviously, the Paladin gets to the point where he just starts going heal, timeout, win.
Right.
And Monsanto wants to be beating Rase before that happens.
Yeah. Rase does have a bit of an awkward hand. The prismatic lens on the Pyromancer means that he wasn't able to clear the board last turn with the Shrink Ray. And even now, if he commits another Shrink Ray, there's still 6 damage showing, which is kind of scary when the Pogo Hopper's on the board and Ziliax could end up being lethal.
The light bends.
Okay, he's gonna really heal here. See if he can pick up perhaps he could Consecration to clean up most of this board. Quality doesn't do too much. I'd be surprised if he did anything but Consecration at this point. It removes 6 damage.
Yep.
Also makes the Kangaroo kind of annoying to be dealt with, right?
It does, but now Monsanto is going to be trying to spot if he has any sort of lethal of his own. Now, obviously the deck does not run Leroy Jenkins, so it was a long shot. 7, 8, 9, 10 damage, 11, 12, 13 damage with Kobold, Lackey, and Ziliax. So 4 damage off lethal.
And Miscreant can't be played to find that lethal is just not enough
So
mana.
many options.
Well, perhaps if Miscreant's played and something else is picked up from there, maybe Ethereal Lackey into something, but
Kobold Lackey into Miscreant, into Ethereal Lackey, into Eviscerate. I don't think that's
it would be
enough
kind
damage.
of it's very, yeah. There'd have to be some weird convoluted way, which it doesn't look like there is right now.
Yeah, I'm really struggling. Like, even if they're both Ethereal Lackeys and they
many
both get Sinister
options.
Strikes, like even that's not lethal.
Sap, one of the cards that's very difficult to use in a good way in this matchup. There's not that many cards you want to sap
Choose soon.
in the Paladin deck.
Maybe he does sap the Crystal Smith Kangaroo. It's guaranteed healing at the moment, but
Good.
But then again, if there was a Flash of Light or Shivala in Raze's hand, then not dealing with this is hugely problematic. And the Kobold Lackey does a pretty good job. Looks like Ziliax is being played there to buff up Pogo Hopper.
It also plays around Pyro Shrink Ray, for example, or Pyro
Oh,
Quality.
yeah,
Means
yeah.
that although with Shrink Ray, although the Pogo Hopper would be reduced to 1/1, it would still be there on the board.
Well, that fixes things for Rase. If Rase does want to go that route, he can go Equality. Sorry. Oh no, it doesn't fix things, does it? Yeah, he could go Pyromancer, Christology,
Yeah.
and then
Well, the
Equality.
Christology does help with that. He did also have the Elven Archer,
Yeah.
which could have done the same thing, but it at least means that Rase needs to have 2 or 3 cards instead of just the Pyro plus clear.
Right.
Sorry, 3 or 4 cards. No, 3 cards. 3 cards. And putting your opponent on a 3-mana combo versus a 2-mana combo is something you can do. Okay, Christology.
There we go. There is the full board clear. Rase down to 9 health. Monsanto, he can develop another big minion, but he's not going to be dealing much damage. The ship is 1 more damage. If it was
It lets him cycle 2 at least, but yeah. I think he's going to start with the Miscreant, see what's in there. Is there anything he would draw off Shiv that he would want to play instead?
Instead of
Probably
Miscreant?
Myra's, actually. I do like the Shiv better. I don't think there's enough stuff that can be played for Miscreant to where you want to Miscreant first, see how much mana you have to spend, and then decide to Shiv, because then you can't Myra's. But Shiv into Myra's would have been a great way to just kind of,
Right.
you know, hit the gas.
Rase still has a Shrink Ray in his hand, but no heals whatsoever. No other ways of
Yep.
going forward. So actually, Shrink Ray would just reduce Monsanto's board towards 1/1s, and it's still lethal if he just Shrink Rays. Monsanto has set this up so it would be 4 damage on board, 1 damage with the weapon, 2 damage from the Kobold Lackey. So Shrink Ray alone does not prevent the lethal here. Shrink Ray plus Elven Archer, ironically, does prevent the lethal here.
Which is funny. We talked about this a lot too. Elven Archer just kind of being a weird card to include.
MVP.
Yeah. 1 mana, deal 1 damage. 1/1.
It's like a bad Kobold Lackey.
It's, yeah. That's true. But you have access to it without having to run lackey generators.
I wonder.
Friends, just the Acolyte with the Christology.
Mm-hmm.
I
Doing that.
hope you like my invention.
Must move quickly.
Does find the timeout.
wants to go. He wants to go Crystology before playing the Novice, just to guarantee that the Acolyte is drawn from the Crystology, so that the Novice can draw something else. Yeah, the timeout buys him time, ironically enough. Drawing with the Elven Archer as well, trying to find the other timeout, which will give him hopefully enough wiggle room to get to the
second timeout.
combo.
Yeah, he gets the second timeout, and if Rase can just draw a few more cards, he will be getting to that lethal. Geppetto Joybuzz picked up by Monsanto. And now is as good a time as any. He's got nothing else to play, so may as well run the 6/6, see what he can find in his deck. Ooh, 1 mana 1/1 Barista Lynchian there. And that's a lot of battle cries on the board. Geppetto, Pogo Hopper, the Faceless Lackey, and the Gargoyle, I believe, is also a battle cry.
Yep. Cathedral Gargoyle. Yeah, it won't do too much. I don't believe there's any way Monsanto can get a dragon, but it's still some gas. You can also just reroll, play another Geppetto this turn.
Yeah.
I think your hand might be too full at that.
The hand would be very full. He can use the backstab, though.
Important thing to note, with the Elven Archer gone, this does mean that Rase cannot do the full 30 damage combo from hand. So, with Monsanto being at 30 life, it's actually kind of relevant, because it'll mean Rase will need more than just the one turn to do the Holy Wrath. He'll need 2 turns or a setup with the True Silver Champion.
Actually going to use up all of his mana with the sap. And he's just realizing that this is a lethal setup anyway. Barring a timeout, the lethal is here. Is Shrink Ray plus Flash of Light good enough?
5 damage left on board plus the dagger, which is 6.
Kobolaki
Goes up to
7/8,
11.
Barista 9/10. Yeah, one off.
Be interesting to see if Rase is playing around Kobolaki, Barista, Kobolaki.
Although that
It's
being
something you
said,
could consider, yeah.
he could consider that, but isn't... Okay, so if he plays timeout, plays Flash of Light, plays Holy Wrath, it's just lethal next turn. Well, no, sorry, it's not lethal next turn.
Cheval's still in the deck. He could just... There's a 2 and 3 chance if you just go...
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not quite enough. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, well,
it's not quite enough.
It's not quite enough, but he can still do it. He could still play
Yep.
Flash of Light, Holy Wrath now. If it hits the Chevala, great, it's lethal next turn. That's Consecration. It's now 50-50 if he does Holy Wrath the face. He can do that with the timeout. It draws the rest of the cards in his deck and might just win the game immediately. Well, not immediately, but in the next 2 turns.
Yeah.
I think he's got to do it.
Okay. 50-50 to at least get the Cheval this turn.
He's shaking his head. Got the True Silver Champion, so he's going to be 1 damage off.
1 damage off the Elven Archer.
The Elven Archer, no!
I mean, it was used to cycle off of the Acolyte to at least, you know, get him to this point where he could set this
Well,
up, at least.
Also, so Chevala's the last card in Race's deck. What Race can do next turn? Actually, is that good enough? If he goes Chevala, Baleful Banker, Consecration, then the following turn he draws Chevala and he can play the Holy Wrath to get the
True.
25 damage.
He can still do the Holy Wrath. Yeah, exactly. Like they're saying, even with the... sorry, say that again.
Okay, so... Yeah, he can go Chevala,
Cheval, Banker.
Banker,
Right.
Consecration.
It clears up almost everything. Does heal him out of range, which is nice.
It
This-
doesn't clear Geppetto, but
it means that there will be 1 extra Cheval. Yeah,
exactly. Next turn he draws 1, and then he plays Holy Wrath, and that draws the other one, and that's the 25 damage. And he would also be able to play the True Silver Champion with it that turn. So, assuming it heals him out of range, which I think it quite comfortably does. Well, depending on what happens this turn with Monsanto, of course.
I hope you like my invention.
Iris Unstable Element.
If this came a bit earlier, Monsanto probably could have generated Pogos much quicker, but
Monsanto can't play that. He takes the 1 damage.
I
and
know,
the Chevala
it would let the Cheval be lethal. He does have a Lab Recruiter, but
Oh, yeah, true.
Double compound Zorano
I think
extra
just this is a bit
Starwood,
safer.
high-bound knife. Coming right up.
Well, here we go.
I'm out of cards.
Oh, these games are so exciting.
it's been pretty close. So now Rase has to identify what we were talking about. Is it still going to be enough? Concentration? Yeah, it still would be enough
So yeah,
in this case.
to clarify, the Chevala deals 7 damage to the Pogo Hopper, putting it down to 2. Consecration clears everything except Geppetto
Right.
and the Evil Miscreant, which would leave 7 damage on the board, 8 with the dagger, but Chevala has healed Rase up to 18 at that point. So in theory, he survives. He plays 2 Baleful Bankers, which shuffles 2 copies of Shivala into the deck. Next turn, he draws a copy of Shivala and then plays Holy Wrath to
With the one still left in the deck, right?
fire the 25 damage into the face. And he can also afford to play True Silver Champion that turn
me
to guarantee that the job is done.
Yep, job's done.
In theory.
In practice, right, that doesn't always
Well,
work out.
yeah, because he's not blocking
Move
Monsanto's
quickly.
board,
And there's no timeout coming out, so if Monsanto...
That's not what's going to happen. Oh, instead he's going to go this route. He's going to go Consecration and just... Yeah, this is even simpler. Next turn he can just go Shivala, Banker.
That makes sense. Does this get punished by anything? Or is there any ways like lackeys could add up to be enough? I don't think so.
No. No, I don't think so. I think that's just a much, much simpler way of doing it.
Curious to see what's...
That Shrink Raid, by the way, that had been held on for the entire game. I believe he drew it in one of the first few turns.
Yeah, it's been there for a while. He did use another one earlier on, but yeah.
Yeah, he did. He drew the second one and played the second one, but the first one has been there since the very beginning.
I wonder if... Yeah, this probably just makes more sense, right? Because there's nothing
Yeah.
left on board at all, which means you're guaranteed to get 25. And it'll be very difficult for Monsanto to... I mean, the thing is, Monsanto has already Ziliac, so I'm kind of trying to grasp and figure out where he would find an extra heal from. There's no life drinkers on the deck, or
Too soon.
Farseers, or any of that stuff.
Another lackey.
I mean, that's got to be the way to go. I'm not sure what he could find, but this is going to be the way to do it.
A Torn, or no, Torn would
Cheaty Ankle Biter's lifesteal, but it can't attack yet.
Yeah.
I give up.
Yeah.
Monsanto gonna give it up. He knows that Rase has the lethal next turn. Rase, wow, that got very close, but Rase does find the win slowly and surely with the OTK Paladin. Yeah, I don't know what to add to that language hacker. That was quite a game.
I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love decks like this OTK Paladin. There's so many ways you can kind of navigate through these turns, and it's very difficult to find. And there isn't always just like one direct path to the end of the game where like, oh, I have to follow this exact path. There's ways that Algodon kind of, Rase kind of went through different ways of finding out, okay, if I do this turn or save the, Shrink Ray for later, if I draw now, how do I set up my timeouts? Also, the timeouts came kind of later. There's a way, there's a lot of iterations of how you can play out turns, and it's very interesting to me to see how players navigate through those and find the way to get all the way through their deck and find the combo.
Right, well, one of the players is going to be switching to the secondary deck for this next game. Let's take a look at which one that's going to be. It's Monsanto. So let's see.
Right.
Secondary deck. This is quite interesting. Removed cards, Preparation, Sap, Fan of Knives, Vanish. Added cards, Togwaggle Scheme, Evil Cable Rat, Spellwood Jeweler, and High Sparrow and Togwaggle.
You know what the combo is, right?
Tell me the combo.
You Togwaggle Scheme your Spellward Jeweler.
Oh, I got it. And you just, the Holy Wrath just can't beat?
Yeah.
You just draw one
Checkmate.
Amazing.
I-
Obviously, Shivala still is a 7/5.
Right,
Big,
but
big minion, but
yeah,
like,
Holy Wrath can't be targeted. Can target the rogue's face. I mean, these are both one-ofs right now. There's only one copy of Togwaggle Scheme being included and one copy of Spellward Jeweler. So in practice, it could be very difficult to find exactly both of those and try to shuffle them in. But it is something that could be done for Monsanto.
yeah, I mean, there's also the Lab Recruiters.
Yeah, that works as well. Doesn't have you don't need that many Spellward Jewelers, right? Just enough.
Yeah,
Even the one could still be enough, right? Like we saw there at Rase was almost completely out of ways to stay alive at the end.
well, this
One or two more turns and it would have been quite a different game.
this is going to be interesting. Ray's going to be looking for as much of the early card draw as possible. Again, Christology really is the #1 card that an OTK Paladin wants to see in the opening
Yeah,
hand.
definitely. Draws your other draw cards, which then you can use to draw other cards, which sometimes draw other cards. Ray's opting to toss everything back. Finds Novice Engineer, Elven Archer, which means that Christologies are a bit less useful if any more one-attack minions are drawn. But Novice Engineer is at least something that can be used on turn 2 to cycle.
Elven Archer, the MVP
Yeah,
of the deck.
it's going to be here in the opening hand. Does he play it on turn 1? Probably not. Harrison again in Monsanto's opening hand. Myers as well, which means Monsanto can take a very aggressive sort of... Not aggressive in terms that he's being you know, very pressure heavy against Rase, but aggressive in terms of aggressively going through his deck and trying to find something like Spellward Jeweler. But with the mana cost of his hand being so high, he might not play Myra's just yet. He could do it near the end of the game where he thinks that he needs to find the Spellward Jeweler to stop the lethal. If it were to be set up by Rase.
I hope you like my invention.
Just Rase playing out the Novice Engineer. Acolyte being drawn on 3s is good to be played, but unfortunate because, again, it's another one-attack minion that Crystology could tutor out from your deck.
Monsanto now with the option to
Okay.
make that classic play, coining out the Evil Miscreant.
Yeah, he's up to no good. Step on hand, too. Monsanto could even just play out a Lab Recruiter for tempo. Could also dagger and just clean up the Novice. But I do kind of like the Evil Miscreant, just get some stuff online.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that Evil Miscreant is just considered like
Too soon.
the best card of Rogue nowadays, right? Coin Miscreant is a bit of a meme for a reason. Just daggering down the 1/1 is another option, I guess.
I thought Coin was the best card in the world.
Counterfeit Coin.
Ah. Okay.
Double Lackey. Double Comboed Lackey, sorry.
Yep.
Obviously, it's double Lackey. That's the point of the card.
That is burst, can be saved for later.
Yeah.
It does mean that Monsanto's next turn is kind of... There's not too much he can develop. He can Lab Recruiter the Miscreant, which isn't terrible, honestly. He could step the Miscreant as well if it stays alive, which very likely will. There's no way I believe Rase can actually deal with Miscreant.
Lackey, Kobold Lackey, Barista, Kobold Lackey, Kobold
It's
Lackey.
8 damage combo.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of silly because like, oh no, it's 8 damage. But I mean, we saw last game, when resources are being exchanged like this throughout the entirety of the game, it gets down to the point where something like an 8 damage like quote combo could be enough. So Monsanto can't consider if he wants to hold on to that until Barista's drawn. He could even also just shuffle more lackeys in his deck, which is kind of cute as well. But that's something he might want to do, perhaps post Myra's, if he even wants to do that. Because he might even want to just save Myra's for later, like I was talking about with Spellward Jeweler, and maybe Lab Recruit some of those. So Monsanto can kill off the Novice Engineer and step the Miscreant.
The Acolyte of Pain is being a
It's
little bit
really
awkward.
annoying, yeah.
That's almost the main reason that you want to Shadow Step the Miscreant. But no, he's actually just going to deal with it with the Kobold Lackey. Clear up this entire board. Yes, okay, Rase gets 2 cards. It's an acceptable loss, I suppose.
I think the Acolyte was almost always going to get 2 draws at this point, so Monsanto just making sure he can't get any more than that by using the Kobold Lackey. Okay, Rase does have the Crystology now. He could consider Hammer Wrathing the Evil Miscreant to deny something like a Shadow Step.
Spellward Jeweler is going to be so interesting
If it shows up.
if it shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone that didn't catch it and doesn't know, Spellward Jeweler's battle cry is that your face essentially cannot be targeted by spells
Or Hero Powers.
or hero powers. But the key thing
For one, until your next turn.
it's a battle cry. It's a one-turn battle cry. So the Holy Wrath can't hit your face. That's the point of it. You can Shadow Step it and play again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you can. That's true, right. So that is one reason to hold on to Shadow Step as well.
and given that that is the entire win condition, like once Rase has drawn, well, it's the main win condition anyway. Once Rase has drawn the Shivala, played the Holy Wrath, put it into the deck, played it again, like
Yeah, he needs to do the Holy Wrath to actually kill Monsanto.
Yeah.
There's no other way that the deck actually wins. So if Monsanto can kind of disrupt that for even 1 turn, it could be good enough. But if he can disrupt it for several turns,
Yeah.
it really causes a problem for Rase.
I
'cause
think
then
it
fatigue
does.
starts adding up.
It does have to be several though, right? Because Rase can just hold on to the banker and hold on to Shivala and hold on
Well,
to.
it depends how much pressure Monsanto can apply, right?
Yes, yes,
If he gets Rase down to a point where Rase needs to use all of his removal, and then he needs to he has 1 turn left, for example, to do the Holy Wrath combo where he dies, and then Monsanto plays the Spellward Jeweler like at the perfect time. 1 turn could be enough. But again, with all these bounce effects and shuffle effects, Monsanto could just kind of lock Rase out from playing Holy Wrath over several turns, which means Rase could consider doing something like Shivala Banker and then try to play the Shivala just for tempo and try to win like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen this matchup, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Maybe Rase does find a way to play around with disruption. Alright, Crystology coming out, another Novice to cycle, and just playing up the Soup Vendor, emptying the hand, making sure that more cards can be drawn. Monsanto picks up a Shiv. Kind of an awkward turn. This is the first Pogo Hopper that can be just jammed down. Can consider lab recruiting it since he does have Myras if he wants to take a much more aggressive stance. Or he can try to just keep his hand kind of low in terms of hand size and eventually try to find Myras into the Spellward Jeweler. It's a couple different ways you can take this.
Myra's right now is really interesting because again it's the Pogo Hopper Lab Recruiter combo, and essentially that would indicate that Monsanto's planning on winning the game within the next few turns, every turn developing a bigger and bigger Pogo Hopper.
The question is that going to be enough? Because this Pogo Hopper is going to be 1-1. Yeah,
I think it is.
I think Myra's into those Pogo Hoppers would not be just enough.
Got the double Shadow Step though, I guess.
There's another Pogo Hopper.
Does boost them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shadow Stepping the Lab Recruiter as well. Okay, interesting.
maybe now because he drew the second Pogo Hopper so fast.
I believe he's going. It's possible. I think now he's kind of saying next turn he's going
And
to go.
it costs 0 as well. Next turn he can literally go Myra's, Pogo Hopper, Lab Recruiter all in one go. The Pogo Hopper's a 5/5. The Lab Recruiter shuffles 3 more in.
You can play the Pogo Hopper first to get 1 extra draw too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and this is kind of another interesting use of Myra's Unstable Element. We've seen in the past. I mean, people use it to just aggressively find the last few resources they need to close out games in terms of burst damage or removal like backstab and sap to deal with the board. But this deck utilizes Myra's in a very different manner. It can still be used to find something like that, but there is really not a lot of burn in this deck, if at all, any.
Okay, so here's another question for you. If Monsanto does go ahead and do that with the Myras, does that allow Rase to just start playing Holy Rounds? Just target the face with Holy Rounds? Because
and just hope that he Shivala?
It means the game ends very soon, one way or another.
The game will end very soon, so it could. Rase still has 14 cards left in his deck. If there's not enough removal to deal with all the Pogo Hoppers coming, another Pogo Hopper drawn.
Like what I'm saying is that Rase never gets to that combo where he runs out of cards and plays the Shivala combo.
Right,
anyway.
so he'd have to just.
So may as well just start playing the Holy Wraths.
Yep, agree.
I wonder.
Looks like Monsanto's gonna hold on.
Well, he's got 2 Pogo Hoppers available right now. I guess there's no need to play the Myras.
True, and if he does come into the Myras and Rase is able to deal with the at least 5 Pogo Hoppers, it could be kind of scary, I suppose.
Yeah.
I guess he doesn't have to super go in just yet. He can just play Pogo Hopper now. It's a 5/5, doesn't have True Silver. There's another one. I think now he could be getting to the point where he can consider just playing the Myras next turn. You can also go Pogo Hopper, Myras.
Shivala drawn.
Which means that Rase, if Monsanto goes for that sort of Myras into Pogo Hopper game plan, Rase, it'll be difficult for him to just go for the 1 and whatever Holy Wrath because he'd have to still play some cards to make Shivala cheap enough to shuffle back in the deck and then take the chance. Which is still possible, but it makes it a bit more difficult.
We're getting to that point now, though, where if Monsanto waits much longer to play the Myras, then
it might not even be enough.
He might not win the race.
Right, exactly. Rase might also just cycle so fast that he has enough removal for the 3 or 4 waves of Pogo Hoppers with a timeout, shrink rate quality, and then he'll set up for the
11 cards in the deck, Flash of Light available in the hand, more card draw to come.
He'll still have to consider the Spellward Jeweler possibility.
Let me think. The light bends to
Rase, recognizing that the rest of his hand doesn't need to be played just yet, needs to make sure he doesn't overdraw something. Although there's not that many cards that he'd be too set overdrawing here, I think. Maybe the Banker. Also just 5 damage isn't that much, and Christmas Kangor probably won't be used to heal that much at this point. So just playing it out seems okay.
So many options.
I wonder if Monsanto with the Geppetto pickup now wants to wait any longer for the Myras. The problem is it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, well, I'll wait 1 more turn. Okay, I'll wait 1 more turn. But then it gives Rase the time to find the timeout, shrink rate, quality stuff. So it looks like Monsanto doesn't want to go for that super all-in Myras into Pogo Hopper game plan. I think he's wanting to draw some extra cards from his deck, as many as he can before he has the Myras, to guarantee that he gets the Spellward Jeweler. So I think he's saying that if I get the Spellward Jeweler, I will not lose the game. So he's trying to just make sure the Myras doesn't mill over that by drawing some extra cards before he's forced to play the Myras.
Just milling as few cards as he can possibly mill.
I like this. He can even play the Geppetto next turn to try and find that jeweler.
Yep.
He's played both Shadow Steps though, so the only way to have more is the Labracuda, but he does have the Labracuda.
Or Scheme, or Tokaku Scheme.
Alright, the one of Scheme. Barista.
Barista, yeah. There are ways. I mean, an Ethereal Lackey into any of the many rogue spells that allow you to bounce it back.
Race's hand is kind of awkward. You can Trick right now, of course, to just deal with the board for now. You can Flash of Light, cycle that. He's probably doing this first to clear the board. Pyro, then Flash of Light. Yep. Plays around stuff like Barista or Vanish. Although Vanish, actually no, Vanish was kept from Monsanto's list. His secondary deck.
Now it's getting to that point in the game where it's sort of decision time for Monsanto, because if he waits much longer, he will lose to the Holy Wrath combo. Well, what I mean is if he doesn't draw Spellward Jeweler.
Right.
So if he chooses to go for Geppetto, that's what I was going to say, is that if he chooses to go with Geppetto, there's a high chance that he gets the Spellward Jeweler, and then he can start playing to that out.
Yep.
Doesn't get it, but that's okay. Novice Engineer will allow for more cycle, as will High Sparrow and Togwaggle, actually.
Just one.
Yeah.
Does need to find some lackeys first,
But now it is a race in a different sense of the word. It's a race for Monsanto to draw the Spellward Jeweler. I guess if it gets to the point where Race is about to go off with the Holy Wrath combo, at that point, Monsanto can go Myra's, hope to draw the Spellward Jeweler, play it, and then play Labrecruiter.
it's a race from Race.
Let me
It's a race against Race.
Yeah. So Race knows that Harrison is in the deck of Monsanto, or in the hand potentially, and he can see that there's two cards that Monsanto has had in his hand from the start of the game. There's not that... I got scared for a second, like, oh my god, is it going to go? But I forgot your was in the hand. And there's not that many cards that Monsanto would keep for this long without playing, so he could put those cards on something like Harrison or Myers. I mean, we can see clearly that's exactly Harrison and Myers, but a lot of the rest of the deck could just have been played out. There were turns to play Barista as well, so I think Race can make the read that at least one of those is either Harrison or Myers, if not both.
Card draw for Race. Another Labrecruiter. Monsanto really needs to find that Spellward Jeweler.
He does.
Novice Engineer digs through one card, but then otherwise it's just a case of emptying his hand so that he can play the Myras.
This is really interesting that Race is not... I think he's deliberately not playing True Silver to deny as much draw as possible from Monsanto.
Barista's great.
This is going to be a nutty Barista.
That's two more draw. Sorry, that's three more card draws available to Monsanto.
And more Pogo. Actually, Monsanto now can consider, do I even play the Pogo? Do I want to spend the 1 mana right now to play the Pogo?
I don't think
Or do I
does.
just forget about it? So he goes Pogo Barista, that's 6 mana. He has 2 mana left over, so he can play 1 Geppetto for... Oh, no, Geppetto, sorry. For some reason, I thought Barista made Geppetto a 1 mana 1/1 as well. Sorry, different cards. Yeah, in this case, I think he does want to play the Barista on the Pogo Hopper.
Choose.
Actually, does he? Maybe he doesn't. No, I don't think he does.
I actually also had it in my head that it made Geppetto 1 mana 1/1. That was quite the mind twist.
So it's possible Monsanto knows exactly how many minions are left in his deck.
Yep.
If he knows that there's like exactly 2 or something, then Geppetto is going to be guaranteed to draw it, so he doesn't need to worry about hand size from Myra's. But if he chose to play the Pogo Hopper after the Rista, he'd have more hand size available to be able to just play the Myra's and hope to draw the Spellward Jeweler.
Yep. Race is close to just having lethal without the Holy Wrath combo.
Yeah, True Silver. But again, I think he's deliberately trying to hold off and playing the True Silver.
Let me
Well, he
think.
can go timeout True Silver. There's no weapon removal.
Harrison.
Oh, there is. Sorry, of course there is. We've been talking about it all game.
There's no weapon removal other than the one Harrison.
Other than the one that's been held on to for the entire game and sitting on the left side of Monsanto's hand. Yep. There are... he hasn't played one of his True Silvers yet, though, right?
No.
No, he hasn't. So there's still the second one as well. That's
Right.
4 damage each. And then... No, and then Holy Wrath still really needs to hit Shivala to do that last bit of damage. So maybe there's just no point.
Yeah, it's just shy.
There's just no point in following that line at all.
He can hope that Monsanto doesn't have Harrison, but like I said, I think it's a clear read that one of those cards is Harrison or Myers, and maybe both.
Yep, agreed.
Race could time out here instead of clearing. do like the timeout.
Why is the timeout better than the clear?
So if, I mean, maybe it's about the same. If he timeouts now, Monsanto can't really, like, if Monsanto commits more, it's still going to get cleaned up by the clear anyways. If he clears now, Monsanto plays stuff, Rase can go timeout, but then the stuff is still on the board. So if he clears the board later, it means that when he does clear that board, he has one turn of breathing room where Monsanto can't hit him in the head.
Right.
So many options.
And with that one drawn, there's even fewer minions left in Monsanto's deck, but I don't believe it's just 2 minions, so I don't think Geppetto is guaranteed.
Monsanto, I know we've been talking about the jeweler for the whole game, but Monsanto could really do with drawing Ziliax.
It wouldn't hurt. I don't think he's going to die just on normal damage. I think there is... We've seen both of them harass, but...
Ziliax could take him over the 25 damage threshold.
That is possible. There are 2 bankers, so there could be a 2-turn combo.
Yeah, he's played a Holy Wrath.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So that's not the case. So that's one more thing Rase needs to be concerned about, making sure that Ziliax does not heal out of range. But I don't think it can in one swing. Monsanto setting up some board to be a bit stickier against the clear. Monsanto knows that he has a few more turns before he has to just pull the trigger on Myra's and just find the Spellboard Jeweler.
He can go prep Myra's as well. That's, again, it clears another card from the hand. But he gets to the point where Rase could... no, because the Baleful Banker costs 5. I was going to say Rase could just go Shivala, Banker, Holy Wrath for the 1 and 3. But because that second Banker costs 5, he can't afford to do all of that together. He might take the 50-50 though later on.
Later on, right. I don't think he's in a state right now where he has to say, I need to go in right now, because he does have the, he has a timeout to stall. He still has an equality.
But that's not what the problem is though, right? Like the problem for Rase is when that Skyward Jeweler gets drawn, Monsanto can play it every turn.
Right.
So what Rase is really racing against isn't the damage on Monsanto's side of the board, it's the protection that Monsanto can draw to prevent Rase from winning the game.
Move quickly.
Right.
Again, it's like a two-pronged attack, right?
Yeah. So Rase could preemptively launch the Holy Wrath before Monsanto has time to prepare, saying, well, I'll wait till he's 1 card left and then I'll play the Spellboard.
It's a really tough judgment call because he has to decide, you know, how likely is Monsanto to have this? When is he going to start playing them, etc. I think the moment Monsanto plays Myra's, the moment Monsanto plays Myra's, he plays the Jeweler anyway.
If he draws it.
If he draws it, yeah. But this will be a Geppetto turn, I'm almost certain.
Are you? Yeah.
I mean, I hope so. Now he just hovered over it.
Yeah.
Which is because, again, it's the most likely way to get to that Spellboard Jeweler.
Yeah, I do like this. You can also find you the Ziliax, although at this point it's not going to heal you that far out of range. But it does mean you won't die to like a stray True Silver.
Yeah, I guess. There's still a True Silver in the deck. Actually, yeah, True Silver heading twice and then...
Could, yeah, it could be dangerous. I believe there's 1 clear left for Rase. A Shrink Ray left in the deck. Monsanto repeatedly... Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay.
Piper's another minion draw. I don't know how many Pogo Hoppers are left in the deck at this point, if I'm quite honest. I think there's at least 1.
I believe there's 1 left?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I wouldn't even want to predict that.
I'll predict there's 1 left.
Here we go. About to find out. Oh.
I hope you like my invention.
I guess the prep or stab.
Backstab.
Did
he play it?
He
didn't play it?
Did not. Monsanto didn't prioritize playing the backstab over attacking face. I don't think the face attacks matter. What was important was that he guaranteed played the backstab so that he does not have a 1 in 7 chance to mill the Spellboard Jeweler, effectively nullifying the only chance he has of winning the game.
That was a huge mistake, yeah.
It may have looked like not a big deal, but it is a big deal.
Well, yeah, 1 in 7 to lose the game immediately.
Let me think.
And the True Silver Champion drawn as well. True Silver Champion hitting twice plus Consecration. It's just lethal on the other side, so...
Can you set up... Hold on. Can Rase just guarantee lethal? So if he goes True Silver timeout, Ziliax can't come down to heal, which means that next turn, if Ziliax is played, is there a way Rase can deal with the Ziliax with the Consecration? Yes, there is.
Yeah,
so
Shivala.
if Rase... Exactly. Shivala to pop the... Consecration to pop the Divine Shield, Shrivala to hit the Ziliaxed minion, meaning that, it depends if he plays a Pogo Hopper though. But if if Pogo Hopper's played, then Ziliax can't be played on top of the Pogo Hopper, unless there's also backstab,
But
which is actually kind of like
it wouldn't matter if Rase has played timeout. There's still nothing to hit with it.
Right, but then the final swing can't go through.
Right, sure.
I still do like playing the timeout here because it forces Monsanto to have exactly backstab Pogo Hopper Ziliax.
There's the jeweler! Rase!
Wait a second.
Rase
Didn't we see this exact same thing happen, except instead of the Spellword Jeweler, it was Monsanto milling someone else's Shrivala?
Rase raises his hand in celebration there.
I don't think there's a way Monsanto can win now.
Look at the smile on Raze's face right now. That is exactly what he wanted to see.
Yeah. I mean, okay, is there a way Monsanto can come back now? No, there's no burgle effects. There's no discover that lets Monsanto discover anything outside of the rogue class right now. Which means that no heal can be found, no disruption can be found. And the only form of disruption could be Sap or Vanish, but Raze's hand is full and Vanish or Sap won't do anything.
Choose soon.
Yeah, a bit of a blunder from Monsanto, and it likely will cost him the game. He's gonna keep playing out, trying to see if there's a way he can... He needs to find Ziliax to not be dead.
He's just going to concede. It's not going to happen. Rase takes the win with a very slick 2-0 victory there. Monsanto, unfortunately, messing up quite significantly with the backstab there by not playing it and letting his Spellward Jeweler be burned. However, it did look like Rase had pretty much set up checkmate either way on the other side with the True Silver Champion and the Consecration in the hand, set up to win the game. That was really exciting, spending the whole game talking about Spellward Jeweler and then just seeing it burn in front of our faces.
It played a very important part in that game, that's for sure. Maybe not the part we expected it to, but...
No, it was very entertaining nonetheless. And once again, we see OTK Paladin, our spotlight deck of the day, getting a 2-0 victory. It really does appear that was the bring this week.
It has a couple of bad matchups, like we've seen yesterday. The ETC's Bomb Warrior managed to beat it out, but it has some good matchups as well. Pogo Rogue apparently being one of them. Even with the Spellward Jeweler tech in, there are ways to kind of play around it. Like you said, you could shuffle early and try to just launch it. There's ways to play around it. I think it's a very powerful deck.
Well, let's have a little talk with Rase, see what he thinks about it. Congratulations, Rase. Wow, that was a real nail-biter of a game. I want to know, first and foremost, what were you thinking when you saw that Spellward Jeweler get burned?
Yeah, man, I submitted OTK Paladin because I was expecting at least Monsanto or ETC playing Mage, but they both didn't came with Mage. Then I saw ETC playing War and oh my god, I'm fucked. And then I saw Monsanto with Pogo Rogue, okay, it's a good matchup. Then I saw this tech card and oh my god, because he can like Shadow Step and Scheme and a lot of things and I was terrified about it. And the second game I was trying to see if I can win even without Shrivala with my weapon Consecration.
Yeah.
We saw you were trying to set up to kill even through like a Ziliax or something. You had ways to just deal with the Consecration and push the final damage. Yeah, it was a good setup. It was a very, very good eye on that.
Yeah, I'm really happy that I win today because I was scared of going 0-2 with OTK Paladin this week because I didn't get the right matchups because of this tech card, but yeah, I won. So feels good.
You didn't get the right matchups, but on the whole, OTK Paladin has been quite successful this week. What made you want to bring it in the first place?
Yeah, I know Monsanto and ETC don't like to play Warrior, so I wasn't expecting they to bring it because it's a really hard matchup. You guys watched it yesterday. I think I played well. The games went close, but it's always pretty hard because you can't waste any point of damage and you need to survive. So it's really hard to know when to go face and when clear the board. But OTK Paladin has also pretty good matchups, especially against Mage, and Mage is quite popular right now, so that's why I brought.
Well, congratulations, Rase. You are 6-4 now in GM. Go, celebrate. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you.
That was a really great series. It was 2-0, but still, like I said to Rase, I'll say it again, it was a real nail biter.
Yeah, OTK Paladin was not O2K Paladin this week.
not for any player, actually.
No,
I think
yeah,
every single player
it
got at
worked
least
out.
one win. That is match 2 done and dusted, but we still have 4 more series coming up today. Next up is going to be Purple and Just Saying in our first of 2 Rogue Mirrors. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.